All right, I would like to call the Open Space Committee meeting to order, and it's the June 7th, 2020, and we are being videoed. 2022. Oh, shit. We aren't being videoed, yeah. It's not the first time that's happened. All right. Has everybody seen the minutes from the previous meeting? Okay. Anybody have any comments on the minutes? I did see one thing I thought was odd on the last page. The paragraph at the top was second line, flooding, comma, invasive, comma, condition. I didn't get the whole.
That was,
The word condition, you know, I could see, like,
condition of the land.
okay,
Condition of the land.
yeah, okay. All right, yeah, it's fine, I just was curious. Yep.
Put that in there.
Yeah, I would say it's fine, rather than, yeah. Okay. All right. Any corrections besides that?
It's a clarification.
Clarification, okay. I entertain a motion to accept
Second.
as amended. Okay,
All in,
so moved.
all in favor? Yeah.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Good. Okay, so definitely got a lot more responses from our survey, which is great. We're up to 287 responses. So great work getting the word out. Like before, not all of those are complete surveys, but, you know, we have a really long survey, so that that tracks with what happens in other towns. And our biggest response rate is from under 18. So we've got 61 students who answered the survey, which is really great. We don't get that kind of response usually from our youth population, so that was really great to see. And we've added some responses over 75, so that's great as well.
When did the youth come in at a certain date? Because I called the superintendent.
Yeah, let me see.
And he put it on, he's like, oh, I send out a message every day to everybody. I'll just put it on that.
I'm pretty sure it was like May 30th or something. There was a huge spike in more surveys. So yeah, definitely he got it out there. So that was great.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do we have a tentative close date of June 15th. I think there's a good amount of responses, but I'm happy to keep it open if we want to do another push, if we feel like we've missed anywhere. I'll leave it up to you all.
It doesn't hurt to have it out there, you know, but probably. I walk at the lake every day, and there's 5 of them at every gate. And I asked a guy who I see there every day, is he taking it? He's like, what? You know, people just don't notice these things. It'd be nice to put it on the board down at the fire station, or to people look at that, or maybe we've saturated.
No, I've been asking people out in the trails too. Me too. When we had gone ride, we asked, it was husband-wife team. He said, I did. She goes, it was too long.
It is long. Well, I mean, I feel like you all did a really good job of getting the word out there. It's been out there for about 2.5 months now. And this is about the response rate that we get in other towns, so you're not lacking. So I think if we want to close it on June 15th, that's still an extra week for folks to answer it. And then at our next meeting, I can give a presentation on the results.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
One more reminder on Facebook and push it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we'll keep that closed date, and then, like I said, the next meeting will be a presentation of the
This week,
results.
this Friday, it comes out in the Blackstone Tribune, an article about it, yep. I just talked to Lisa, yeah.
Do we want to then extend it an extra week?
Well, it comes on Friday, it still gives you Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday,
Yeah.
18, 12, 13, 14, 15, till Wednesday. So if they're going to do it, they're going to.
They'll do it right away. Okay.
When they read it, so.
Okay, great.
But it'll say it closes on the 15th, or does it?
I don't know, maybe.
It says that on the survey.
Okay.
I don't know if it says it in the advertisement.
Okay. Good.
Okay, great. Questionnaire, have you received any?
I put it out there again to them over the
Okay.
email, and then I got a response this morning. She says, can you send me the thing? And so Lisa, I was just talking to Lisa, I'm like, can you send all the boards that? And then, because it does say on the top of it, due June 1st.
Okay.
But It's typical, probably the historic hasn't met for maybe,
Yeah.
or I don't know, you know?
Yeah. Okay, that's not a problem. We'll keep pushing that so that we can get some more input, but,
I
you
told
know,
them I
there's no
wanted it
rush.
today, but,
Yeah. I did pass out, a sheet of questions to all of you. It's titled Analysis of Needs and Resource Questions. So this is just some more information that we're going to be putting into the plan. This is usually stuff that the state will come back and ask for additional information on, so I figured we'll try to get it out of the way the first time around. Oh, here, give me an extra.
I don't think, oh, yes, I did.
Oh, no problem. I gave you a lot of stuff today, so. All right, so I'll run through the questions quickly. We don't need to answer them now. I'll send them out via email, or if you want to take these and just email your responses back to me, and then I can put them all together. That's fine with me. Okay, first question, are there any large areas of land that need protecting? So large conservation land or forested area that might not be under like a Chapter 61 program or a conservation restriction, anything like that, that the town might be interested in protecting. Are there any areas in need of wildlife corridors or linking existing habitats? So are there any gaps between our forested areas or conservation lands? You know, anything like that. Are there any issues with forest resources? So, you know, clear cutting of lots, any management issues, invasive species, you know, anything else you can think of that might be an issue, wildfires, you know, any concerns like that. Sort of similar, any issues with street trees or public shade trees. So again, any kind of pests, invasive species, you know, people not knowing that they're a public shade tree and they cut them down, you know, anything like that. And then who manages.
Or lack of shade trees.
Or lack of, yes, yeah, definitely.
I'm cutting down one on the Coleman as I came here.
Or, you know, if there's, sometimes in other towns, there's a removal replacement program, so if they have to cut down a street tree, you know, again, due to it's dying or.
20 more.
And then they'll plant another one. So anything like that, and then who manage them? Typically the tree warden, and so just some information on who that tree warden is, or if it's like a board. Are there any issues with agricultural resources? So any loss of land to development, flooding impacts, drought impacts, you know, any issues that our farmers might be having. Any issues with trail resources, or opportunities to expand our trail resources. So to link trails, you know, and where are they in town? Are there any areas in town where there's no access to trails? What biking, walking, and hiking opportunities exist in town, and where are they located? Are there any limitations with staffing to manage the town's open space and recreation resources? Are there any areas in town threatened by development? And should be more open space and recreation areas, not other areas. And then are there any future or potential development projects to be aware of that could impact the town's open space and recreation resources? And then if there's any issues with erosion, sedimentation, aquifers and water quality, flood hazard areas or flooding in town, and invasive species. Some of this we can pull from the MVP report, but that was, I think, 2 years ago at this point, so any updated information will be helpful as well. And again, you can just email these to me, or if you want to bring them to our next meeting, and then I can type them up. Any questions with the questions? No, okay. Okay. Next. The action plan, so I just also printed off our draft goals and objectives. So this is sort of what we solidified last time. We can change them, so these aren't set in stone yet, and certainly we'll want to compare them with our survey results, and then once we have our public forum, just to make sure they sort of fall in line with what the residents are feeling. But just on the initial glance of responses, I think they fall pretty much in line, and we covered essentially everything. So I can email these out as well, but that's just our sort of finalized list for now, and then we'll adjust where needed and then add in some action items once we get to that phase. Any questions? We sort of verified this last week, or last meeting, but, and if there are any changes, or if you've thought of another area that we might have missed, feel free to email me and I can get that on there. All right, we're going to go backwards. We're going to do the maps first, and then we can talk about the ADA list. So I've got 3 maps right now. The rest will be available hopefully by the end of this week, so I will email those out. Well, I'll email them all out, but definitely those ones, and then I can bring printed copies of the other maps at our next meeting. First one is our environmental justice map. Where'd my pen go? So this map, do you all know what environmental justice areas are? Okay. Some of you? All of you? No. Okay, so for the environmental justice areas, I believe it's minority groups, low income, and I think maybe language barrier groups. If there's a certain percentage in a block in town, then we'll label them on the map. So it's sort of a blank map because there are none in Douglas, according to the 2020 census. But if you look up in Oxford, you see that's in yellow. That area there is a minority environmental justice group. So there's a larger percentage of minorities who live in that block group.
There's an apartment complex up there.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. So again, there's nothing really to label according to the US Census for this map, but we still want to keep those populations in mind because typically they have limited access to our open space and recreation resources. We don't always keep them in mind when we're planning, so we want to keep them in mind, even though we might not have a large group in town that falls into that category. Let me just grab a pen. And then I did want to ask, this map really uses census data, but that census data doesn't always capture everything, with people's sort of comfortability or not with filling out the census. So I didn't know if there are any particular areas that we want to map where there might be larger minority populations or low income, or larger senior populations that we might want to get on the map, to just highlight that these are certain areas where we might want to have more open space and recreation opportunities if there aren't already some there. Any areas of town that come to mind?
If they are, that's pretty small. I mean, there's a couple of little trailer parks left.
Okay.
And maybe the population downtown is more elderly. Who
Okay.
knows, the old, but and there's a low-income housing complex in
Okay.
East Douglas.
Okay, if you don't know where they are, we don't have to label them now, but if you want to send me an estimated location of where the trailer park and the low-income housing is, we can highlight that just as a potential area to increase those opportunities, again, if they aren't already there. Okay, so that's that map. Any other questions about the environmental justice map? Most of the towns out here, they're blank, so it's not uncommon. Let's do map 3 next. So this is your zoning districts. So it just shows in town, where the different zoning districts are, pretty straightforward. I don't know if there's anything to edit unless you feel like we've missed a zone or if some of these are incorrectly labeled, but if you want to take a look, again, it's pretty straightforward showing where the different zones are in town. And then that helps us to show where our open space and recreation resources are allowed and where we could potentially put them in the future. Any questions with that? Okay. Again, that one's pretty straightforward. And then the next one is our soils map. So it's soils and geologic features. Again, so it's showing prime farmland, and then soils based on how well they drain. Again, I don't know if you would know off the top of your head if these are correct. But again, that's pretty straightforward, just showing where the different soils are and how that might impact our open space resources. So, where farmland might be versus where we might put development due to the drainage ability of the soils.
What's the little triangles with the exclamation point in them? I see 2 in Douglas, 1 in Webster.
Triangles.
Right up.
That is an AUL location, so it has to do with brownfields. What does AUL mean?
Up top, activity and use limitations, AUL.
Yes. So due to potential past contamination at those sites, those what our AULs are. But I will make a note that is not in our key.
Yeah.
Where is it in Douglas?
Oh, there's 2 on Main Street here. By Main Street.
Let me write that down.
Oh, yeah.
Right by Rydell.
Yeah. What's a gas station?
Gas station,
Yeah,
yeah.
it probably
What's
is.
next to the gas station? The sand pit? Hughes?
Hughes, yeah.
Unless that's far enough down, would that be the K2 automotive?
That's,
That's Glen,
yeah.
right to Glen Street, so
Yeah.
that's gonna be Hughes. Place.
Yeah.
All right.
And must have had a leak at the gas station sometime. I almost remember it, but
Yeah, so again, another pretty straightforward, I don't know if we have any soils experts on the committee, but if there are any issues with this, please let me know, or any other questions. So these ones are pretty straightforward. Next time, I will print off copies of the open space inventory, which we're going to do a little exercise on today. The scenic features map, which we'll talk about also on how we want to set that up. A habitat map, which will show the wetlands and vernal pools and things like that. Our regional context map, which just shows where the town is in the state and in the region. Is that all the maps? I might be missing one. Those are the basic maps.
which one's the first one you mentioned?
Oh, sure.
I got the scenic features.
Open space inventory, so it's going to show all of the land, so like any Chapter 61 lands, conservation restrictions, APR lands, and then we label it based on ownership as well. So is it state-owned, is it municipally owned, or is it private-owned? So the open space inventory, unique and scenic features, our habitat map, the regional context map. We have 2 water resource maps as well. One is going to show sort of the water infrastructure in town, so water lines, sewer lines, things like that. And then the other one is going to show the different watersheds that the town is in, as well as the different surface waters as well. And the regional context, which I already said. Okay. So we'll look at those next time as well. And then again, if there's any issues with those, we can fix that. And as soon as I have the electronic copies of those, I'll email them out to everybody. So next time. I do want to, I have the list, Sue, that you sent of the scenic resources. So as you can see, the maps are somewhat small, a lot of information is packed into them. So, we want to include all of this for sure on the map, but it will probably be too much for us to label each. So I was thinking what we could do if we want to have our full list here, is we can number them instead, and then I can have a key that goes along with the map. If there are certain ones that we really want to highlight, like we definitely want them labeled, just let me know what those main ones are. Otherwise, I'll just put a list together or a key together so that we have all the labels there. The other thing with this, I'd like to include a sentence or two or a short paragraph, nothing more than that, of what each of these resources are or features are, just so that folks who might not know get a better understanding. So, no rush on that, but I would like to include that along with our key as well, just so folks know, what they're looking at. But everyone's on board with using like a number key. Okay.
I mean, some of them might cluster in the downtown area or whatever, so you could do a blow-up of that.
Sure. Okay, number with key. And then a sentence or two, or a short paragraph if you need more. Okay.
There's a lot of stuff on that list. I mean, I just kept,
No, that's fine.
stop. Yeah, I mean, the men's club, I don't know where the men's club in the middle of the forest is. It's in that time in the town, but that map in the middle is.
Okay, and now last thing I have on my list, sort of two things, but they're related, is the ADA list. And then along with that for our inventory map. So a new thing that the state is requiring is any town-owned lands, we want to color differently if they're conservation lands versus recreation lands. So lands that might fall into conservation only, lands with conservation restrictions on them, potentially any forested areas that you wouldn't really have public access to, versus recreation, which might be fields, parks, things that residents might be doing more active recreation on. Conservation, we might also put like water resource areas there as well, or water protection supply land there. So I have, let's see here. Oops. I have all of the town-owned lands listed out. And I was just going to go through them, and if we can just say if they are either conservation lands, recreation lands, or both, if you feel like they qualify for both. And if we don't know, we can come back to this next time. But if I can do it now and sort of get it to Matt ahead of time, then maybe we'll have an updated map, before our next meeting. So first one, Cutter Park. Assume it's recreation because it's
Never heard of it.
park.
Cutter?
Cutter, Cutter.
Address?
Let's see if I can find the address. I could just go down by address if that's easier instead of naming the parks.
Both probably, maybe we should recognize them.
I don't have the address. Oh, that's gonna be complicated. Why don't we skip that one for now? All right, let's see here. Dean Park?
See, maybe you got the wrong town.
There's a Dean Park in Worcester.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. There's an elm, then we know.
Let me see here.
There's field on that list. They don't know we're in the right town.
Let's see. That might be the wrong town. Alright, no, that's not right. Alright, give me 1 second. I have one sheet with the Douglas lands, but they're not labeled. I just have the addresses.
We can try 'em.
Okay. All right, let's try the addresses. Royal Crest Drive, or anything over there?
There's probably conservation. That would be they might have had to, put a little bit of conservation in to get that's down off South Street. You go into Arch Street, and then Royal Crest is off that.
Okay. Briarwood Circle?
That's got to be conservation.
Okay. Brookside Drive?
Conservation.
Okay. Let's see, Chestnut Street.
Conservation.
Okay. Oops. See, Church Street.
Either that, or it could be just Evan Chesbro could have some conservation land. I could have a conservation restriction on it. I don't know of any playgrounds or anything up there,
Okay.
so it's not.
Let's see.
Even the common would be considered it would be considered conservation, right? It's not like they're having,
That one I'd probably put in both.
but we're not sure what it is.
Okay. Let's see, Colonial Road.
That's over by you. That's probably conservation.
Okay. Let's see. Common Street.
That's more likely the common,
That might be it.
Okay.
because Church Street extends off common.
Right.
Okay. Cummings Street, or Cummings Court.
Conservation.
Okay. Davis Street.
16.
Conservation.
It's, the schools are on Davis Street, is it, what's the number?
0 Davis Street. There's also a couple different Davis Streets. You know what, let's table this one for now, and then I can get a better table that has the names of the parks, because I think this other one is a different town. That I put on there. Or what can I do here? All right, this is what I'm gonna do instead.
There was 0 on the left or on the right. Is that an even or an odd? Just
I
means-
think there's anything on the other side of the schools that's town owned. I think it's all on the school side.
Yeah, where we walked and stuff.
Yep.
All right. I got a better idea. Okay.
It's gonna be fun taking all those signs down. I keep going back and they're missing. I'm like, who's?
Insert column. Okay. I think I have the right list now. Mumford Street Conservation Area, is that in town? Okay. Conservation land?
Yep.
Okay. Tinkerville Brook Conservation. If there are recreation opportunities, we can put both.
Where's the Tinkerville? Does it have an address for that?
Let's see.
Hoping on Mulford to have
There are,
recreation opportunities.
Mhm.
There's none right now.
That's the one that's at the end of the Duval.
I do have an address somewhere, but it's not popping up.
I've never heard of the Tinkerville Brook Conservation Area.
The alternative site name is Gosselin? I don't know if that means anything to you.
Maybe that's their conservation restriction on a piece of Tinkerville
Oh,
Brook
maybe.
property. So then I put it conservation because it's not recreation,
Okay.
except for fishing.
There's 2 site areas just titled conservation area, so I'm just going to type down conservation. Conservation. Southeast Main Street Conservation Area. Conservation. Martin Road Recreational Park.
Recreation.
Recreation. Pine Needle Park.
I don't know. Sounds like
Let's see,
one
the Concom is the manager, so I would probably label that conservation land.
thing.
that-
Steep, oh, really?
It's 57 acres. Let's see. Let me look up the website. 77-1498. Let's see. Oops. That's not it. I should have just give me the parcel ID. I am not sure where it is, but I have to merge the 2 tables because one has the names and the other one has the addresses. But there's, I have to figure out how to get them together. All right, Veterans Field,
Yeah, it's recreation.
recreation. Okay. Water tank, I would guess,
It could be recreation.
I'll put down conservation just because it's water supply protection, probably. Aquifer protection land. Again, I assume there's no public access there. Let me see. Water department. doesn't say if there's public access. Oh, yes, it does, okay. Let's see, this one, no public access, so we'll put down conservation land for that one. U Street Conservation Area, conservation. This one, there is no name for the site, but it's water department, so again, I would assume it's water protection supply land. And then Douglas Water Supply Land, so we'll just put that one as conservation as well. Okay. So I will get you the addresses for these and merge these tables, and then we can verify it again at our next meeting. But I think most of these are pretty self-explanatory. Once we know the address, if we feel like they're both conservation and recreation, then we can make a new column for that one as well.
There's quite a few more conservation areas than what you mentioned.
These are just the town-owned ones.
So there's no, yeah. Well, that might be the Southeast Maine.
Yeah, but isn't there one further down on Southeast Maine too? Pretty close to Uxbridge? There's another piece in there.
Yeah, there's the one on, yeah, that little road at the end
Yeah.
there.
What's the property called?
One's K-E-E-N-A-N? No,
Keevan.
K-E-E-V-A-N. K-E-E-V-A-N, right?
It's right by Catherine's house,
Yes.
right behind
Right
it.
behind her, yeah.
Yes.
And does the town own it, or is it under a land trust or a state-owned?
It's a town company.
Town owns it?
Plus, there's the one on Manchog Road.
Do you know what the one on Manchog Road is called?
Manchog Road, maybe? Like,
Just-
just like the Mumford Road one.
Okay.
Thought I had a list of them.
It's possible that some of these are either, because Matt pulled it from the assessor's data, so it's possible that there's an alternative name to some of these sites, and so these are just the assessor's names. So I think maybe once I can combine the addresses, we can sort of verify more, and then,
Conservation lands that I put together. I don't know if they're all of them, but there's some more in there, too.
Manchog Street.
Yeah, Makowski Drive is the
Southwest Main
southeast
Street.
Maine.
Okay. And it's possible that some of these aren't even in the database, so then we'll
Or
need to
some
add
of them were just, the conservation land that you had. that-
Yep. Yeah, so there's two of them that are just called conservation area, so it's possible that that official name didn't get changed to one of these here.
What about the conservation restrictions? Are those aren't in there, too?
So they're two different things, sort of. So the conservation restrictions could either be town-owned or privately owned, so we don't include them necessarily in this list. We have a different list that, or a table that will show all of our conservation restriction lands, all of our agricultural protection restriction lands, and then we'll have a table that shows any state-owned properties, any private properties, but we won't include the private landowners' names. And then we have this big table that's going to be town-owned conservation and recreation lands. And that table, we have to have some additional data for. This other, like the CRs, the APRs, the chapter lands, we don't need to have, we need to have listed out, but we don't need to have this additional, is it conservation land, is it recreation, and as well as a couple other columns that we'll have to fill out. But I have a feeling that some of these are just, the names themselves didn't get transferred or were never inputted. So I'll look through that and see if I can figure that out with the addresses, and then if not, it's possible we might have to add some of these as well. And again, it's only town-owned, so if there's any of these that are in a land trust or something else, we wouldn't need to include those for this particular list. With that, so any of the town-owned conservation and recreation lands that have public access, so there's a couple different check marks there, that's what you have to do your ADA assessment on. So you don't necessarily have to do it for any lands that have a CR on them or APR. It's town-owned, so no land trust lands, no state lands, so we don't have to do the state forest. Those are the ones that we'll have to go through with that big checklist and do our ADA assessment. So according to this list that I have on here, that would be, let's see, and again, it's ones with public access. So any of the water supply lands, we won't have to do this assessment on unless there is public access, which most of them there isn't, so I would doubt that there is. But so we've got the Mumford Street, Tinkerville Brook, two mysterious conservation areas that we'll find the name of, Southeast Main Street, Martin Road Recreation Park, Pine Needle Park, Veterans Field, and then U Street Conservation Area. And then these we'll verify with the names.
I wonder if Pine Needle Park is the same as Soldiers Field, which is the main recreation field that you didn't mention.
Oh, maybe. Let's see, how big is that one? Conservation.
Yeah, behind the veteran.
Yeah, that one, it's 57 acres. Does that seem?
That was the same as the other one, right? The Pine Needle Park, yeah. No, that's 57 acres, it's not Soldiers Field. So you don't even have Soldiers Field on there, but
Okay.
it's not on there either because it's recreation.
That's not Veterans Field?
No, that's soccer.
Two different ones? Okay. All right, let me write down Soldiers Field.
It's on the list of attractions too.
Okay. Soldiers Field. And where's that one?
Is it Mechanic Street? It's on the corner,
Maybe Mechanic Street?
yeah.
Okay. Any other recreation properties that we missed?
That's really the three, right? Your backyards? Yeah, the schools have all the tracks and all that stuff, so.
So the schools won't count on this list because these lands have to be managed or owned by the Conservation Commission or a Parks and Rec Department.
We have a basketball out here, but.
But we'll definitely, any of the school properties too, we'll want to list them in a different list. Okay. All right, so I'll go through with this list and see if I can verify some of this. And then, like I said, we might just have to add some stuff. It just might not have been in the assessor's database.
That's just, I mean, that's just me brainstorming. I didn't
Okay,
really
no, that's
look at
fine.
any list.
Okay. There's probably a lot of questions, but any questions about this list? So I think it'll probably be better to do that exercise again at our next meeting. And then once we can verify what all the lands are, then we can decide which ones we actually have to do that ADA assessment on. Because again, if there's no public access, you don't need to do the assessment because hopefully nobody's going to be accessing those lands, or at least they shouldn't be unless they're, working there or something. Okay. I think that's all I have on my list. Any questions? Let me just write down. Need to verify.
I would think that the
might be missing.
conservation agent would be a better place to find out about it than the assessor's office, since we don't have an assessor at the moment.
Yeah, I think Matt pulled it from the state's GIS data, which is most likely not updated with the most current information. I think it says it's updated since like this past January, but that doesn't really mean anything. So we'll look through that and see where we can fill in some of those missing gaps.
So you could just send him the list, and then he could,
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do, is see if we can sort of verify,
yeah.
Where.
When they finish their questionnaires.
We'll compare. Okay. Okay, any other questions? No? All right, so like I said, at our next meeting, let me, we'll go through the survey results. We will review the other maps that weren't available today. And I'll send those electronically once I have it. And then we will re-review the table list of town-owned conservation and recreation lands. And then from that, we will determine which ones are conservation, recreation, or both. And then additionally, we'll identify which ones we'll need to do the ADA assessment on. Let's see, what else? And then we could even schedule some like site visits for those lands, so I can come out, we'll take pictures, we'll go through the checklist. I think we'll need the town's ADA coordinator there.
He's ready to go in.
Ready to go in, okay, perfect. All right, schedule site visits, and we'll just confirm with the ADA coordinator. Okay.
This sheet, review this, or what?
Oh, yes, we can review it. It'll probably be a pretty lengthy meeting. But definitely in the meantime, if you go through this and you want to email me these responses, then what I can do is type them up and put them on the OneDrive. I think you just have to email me directly and not everybody for open meeting law. So then if you all email me, I can put it together, and then I can have sort of a full list of responses on the OneDrive that you all can access. I think that's how it
Is
goes.
the list that Sue made up on the historic scenic place, is that on OneDrive?
No, let me put that on too.
Look at it,
Do homework here.
descriptions. Trying to give him the Douglas Gold's plan, I could put the description of the Stonehenge Bridge.
Yeah, yeah.
Sites on
Yeah.
OneDrive.
I mean, I know, like, I tried to get Pete Tatro to put his area on the Rawson Farm part. And he found he didn't trust the town ever, and so he got some other conservation restriction somehow on his land, but I don't have any idea what it is. He's dead.
Conservation table, okay. So I've got, our homework is, I'll put this list on the OneDrive, and then if y'all could just take a look at it, add some sentences. Again, it doesn't need to be long, just to generally, what it is. We've got the address, so we don't need to add that, but, what it is, what it's used for, why.
What, this list?
No, sorry, not that list. Your,
Oh, this-
the unique and scenic features and historical feature list that you
okay.
came up with. Just so that when we have the key, people can get a better understanding of what each thing is, if they don't know, if they haven't been in town for long, or, I'll send out the maps once I have them, and then I'm going to fix that conservation lands table so that it makes more sense, hopefully. Any questions? So the next meeting, I am actually out of town that day. I'll be out of town that Tuesday for the rest of the week. So I could meet on the Monday, which is the 27th, I think. 27th, yes. So I could meet on the Monday, or I could meet the following week, pretty much any day.
Yeah, the next week, that Tuesday or whatever is the 5th of July, I think.
Yeah, so that would be right after the 4th of July. I don't know if folks would be traveling.
Be better? Would Monday be better, the 27th?
That's, yeah, I think,
That works with me, if it works.
I have no idea, but I assume so.
Monday, June 27th? That work? Okay. All right. Next meeting. Monday, June 27th,
That one.
same time.
That one.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah?
Sounds good.
Okay, great. Okay, any questions? And then at our, probably not at our next meeting, it seems pretty jam-packed, but at the following one, we can start planning our public forum. Probably be a good idea to do that in the summer or early fall. We could potentially do it. I've done some at parks in towns, more of like a walk shop is what I like to call, like a walking workshop. So folks can come out to the, if we do it at a park or a field or something, and I can print off some of these big maps and posters, and folks can interact that way. Other ways we've done it as well is, just sort of a standard public forum. We'd get a bigger space, or, have it potentially in here. I'd give a presentation, and then we'd go off into breakout groups. So we can talk about that more at our next meeting if it's not too packed, or if not, we can push it to the following one. All right, great.
I know.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
It's nice to see your face.
Yeah, I know.
She
I
hasn't
felt
caught
good this-
COVID lately.
I know, it's been a few weeks since I had COVID or has been exposed to it, so I figured it was safe enough now to show my face. Do you want any extra maps or anything?
I could get,
Lisa?
yeah, why don't you give me that set, and I'll give all those things, and I'll pass them along. She got an agenda. This is for you. You showed interest last time. All right, let's see. Well, there's the Duval Road update, nothing new. So hopefully we'll find out if there is something proceeding, or even the railroad bed, or whatever, paved.
Under new business, what is a land council?
Where's the lands?
Because on the selectmen's, board of selectmen's agenda tonight is something reinstating the land council.
Interesting, I have no idea.
Because I went to look at the agenda, to see if there was anything on there about the SNET, and I saw.
Mhm. Watching it tonight to see what it,
No idea what that is. All right, I thought you might have known. The other thing, I guess they were voting on where to spend some of the AARP funding in town, which I haven't seen a list about that either. What they
that's the one, yep. Mhm.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Yep.
Bye, Danny.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Yeah. Yeah, what did, what was this thing? Yeah, I talked to Lisa, and she said that they're going to have a Zap the Blackstone. Yeah, it's going to be the 27th of August, and they're going to have a big cleanup. And she said, well, see if Becky wants to maybe, orient it, if we could orient it towards trails or something that was more relevant to us in town. And a friend of Bonnie Combs at the Blackstone Valley Heritage Corridor is in charge of it, so I could give her a call or whatever.
What was
It's
it?
the 27th.
Yep.
Look at my day, 'cause someone's around in August, I've got a ride, and I don't know if it's that day.
Yep. But, so put that on, potential calendar or whatever if we want to get involved in it. There is a Douglas Beautification Committee. Anybody know anything about that?
Really?
Douglas Beautification. You're not on that? Yeah, I don't know. It's where there's the people that put the flowers at the,
I would think it might be.
Trough.
I didn't realize it was a committee for that.
I think it's new. And I think maybe the kids started it, or they started some kind of a gardening thing, I think, where they were collecting old tools and stuff, kids at the high school. But, so that's, we can talk about that the next time and see if we want to join the Zap the Blackstone.
Yep.
Maybe I'll give Bonnie a call and see if there's anything going on in Douglas and whatever. So, well, that's about it. Anything else anybody wants to bring up? Okay. Well, then, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
201.
You second it? Okay, all in favor?
Hi.
Aye. Okay.